You know, I've been reading about Menno Simons lately, and his story is
Oh?
just incredible.
Menno Simons, isn't he connected to the Mennonites?
Exactly. He's
Right.
the guy whose teachings basically shaped the entire Anabaptist movement.
That's amazing. So, what's his background? Where did he come from?
So, he was born in 1496 in this tiny village called Witmarsum in the Netherlands.
Mm,
He grew up Catholic and became a priest, but the interesting part is he knew very little about the Bible at first.
wait, a priest who didn't know much about the Bible? How does that happen?
Well, back then, the Catholic Church emphasized tradition and liturgy over direct scripture reading.
Ah, I see.
So it wasn't uncommon for priests to not be deeply familiar with the Bible itself.
That's so intriguing. So, how did he start questioning things?
It all started when he began hearing about the Anabaptists in the early 1530s.
Hmm.
They were this radical group that rejected infant baptism, insisting that baptism should be a conscious choice made by adults.
Right, believer's baptism. So, Menno was intrigued by their ideas?
Exactly. At first he was skeptical, but he was really moved by the courage of the Anabaptist martyrs. They were being persecuted, and yet they stood
Wow,
firm. That left a big impression on him.
I can imagine. So, when did he make the shift to join them?
In 1536, he had this major crisis of faith. He just couldn't, reconcile his role as a Catholic priest with what he was reading in the Bible, especially about baptism and the Eucharist.
Right.
So he left the Catholic Church and joined the Anabaptists that same year.
That's a bold move, especially at that time. Weren't the Anabaptists heavily persecuted?
Oh, absolutely. They were
Yeah.
seen as like dangerous radicals by both Catholics and Protestants, but Menno was committed to their principles, and he quickly became a leader among them.
So, what were his main teachings? What set him apart?
Well, one of his key teachings was adult baptism, of course, but he also emphasized nonviolence and pacifism. He
Interesting.
urged his followers to abstain from warfare, oaths, and retaliation.
Wait, so in a time of constant religious wars, he's advocating for pacifism? That's revolutionary.
Exactly. It's like he was saying, let's follow the teachings of Jesus literally, turn the other cheek. He
Yeah.
also pushed for separation of church and state, which was pretty radical back then.
Definitely ahead of his time. How did he manage to spread his ideas under such persecution?
Well, he wrote extensively. His writings, like the foundation of Christian doctrine, were crucial.
Right.
Plus, he traveled a lot, always on the move to avoid arrest, but he organized and encouraged Anabaptist communities wherever he went.
That's dedication. But didn't he get tired of constantly running?
I'm sure he did, but his commitment was unwavering. It's like, he saw the bigger picture and knew his work was vital for the movement's survival.
Absolutely.
He provided much needed leadership during those tough times.
You mentioned he was big on community and discipleship. What did that entail?
He emphasized living out one's faith in daily life. He advocated for a close-knit community of believers who supported each other, practiced humility, and served others.
That sounds a bit like communal living or even socialism in a way.
Well, not exactly socialism as we understand it today,
Right.
but he did believe in sharing resources and helping those in need within the community. It was more about mutual aid than any political ideology.
Got it. So, how did his life end? Did he ever find peace?
Tragically, he spent much of his life on the run,
Oh, man.
but he did die of natural causes in 1561 in Wüstenfelde, Germany.
Well, at least he wasn't captured or executed.
Exactly, which is kind of remarkable, considering the risks he took.
Yeah.
His teachings lived on and laid the foundation for the Mennonite Church.
Speaking of which, what's his legacy today? How do we see his influence?
Oh, it's huge.
Really?
The Mennonites, Hutterites, and Amish all trace back to his teachings in some way. They're known for their commitment to peace, social justice, and humanitarian work.
That's impressive, but do you think his emphasis on pacifism is practical in today's world?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Some might argue that pacifism isn't practical in every situation, but his teachings encourage us to consider nonviolent solutions first.
I suppose in a world full of conflicts, striving for peace is always valuable.
Exactly, and I think his emphasis on community and service is just as relevant today.
Absolutely.
In a way, Menno Simons was ahead of his time, promoting ideas that we still grapple with.
It's amazing how one person's commitment can impact generations.
It really is. So, learning about Menno Simons has been eye-opening.
Definitely.
Makes me think about how faith and conviction can drive change.
Agreed. Maybe we can all take a page from his book and stand up for what we believe in, even when it's tough.
By the way, besides the Mennonites, did his teachings influence any other groups?
Yes, the
Oh?
Hutterites and the Amish were also influenced by Anabaptist principles, including those promoted by Menno Simons.
That's fascinating. So his impact is broader than I realized.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
today, Mennonites are still known for their humanitarian work and dedication to social justice, carrying forward his vision of faith rooted in love and service.
it's inspiring to see his legacy live on. Makes me want to learn more about the Anabaptist movement.
Same here. There's so much rich history there. It's like
Definitely.
peeling back layers of time to understand how these movements shaped our world.
Exactly. Well, thanks for chatting about this. It's been enlightening.
Anytime, I love diving
Yeah.
into history like this.